3 weeks from today, 21 days till the all-important election in Georgia. And of course, control of the Senate is at stake. A day after the Electoral College made it official for Joe Biden, the president-elect visited Atlanta to rally voters and also to try to flip the Senate into Democratic hands.
I need 2 senators from this state who want to get something done, not 2 senators who are just going to get in the way. Because look, getting nothing done just hurts Georgia. Look at what's happening right now in the Congress. The United States Senate should have passed the coronavirus and economic relief package months ago. And what's the United States Senate doing? Nothing. People need help, and they need it right now. States like Georgia need help.
Our field producer, Annie Anderson, she was there as well. She got the Georgia event, and she got to speak to Biden supporters.
People line the streets here in the Kirkwood neighborhood of Atlanta. You can see far as the eye can see, ahead of President-elect Joe Biden's appearance at a campaign event for Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. Obviously, the people here on the streets are Biden supporters, but I still had to ask, having voted in a primary, a general, and now the runoff, are they having voter fatigue? The answer, no.
You can't get sick when you want change. I was telling the other gentleman I stood in line 5.5 hours for the presidency. I went and voted yesterday early. I got there at 8:30. I left at 10:15. Whatever it takes personally for me, I will do, because I hold it accountable to the people that I vote for, all those that made it possible that I might vote also. So that's why I would stand in line 12 hours if it took it.
I am happy to vote as many times as is necessary to get Mitch McConnell out of the Senate Majority Leader position.
And while the people here may not be having voter fatigue, what about others, as turnout is expected to play a major role in this election? Well, they don't think that will be an issue either.
But it's going to be super easy to just make this one final push and have a fully Democratic administration so that we can start to move ahead for the American people and, you know, stop catering to corporate interests and really do what's right for average people. All of this radical liberal nonsense, people know exactly what that's about, and I think we're going to have a good turnout, and we know how important this is, so we're not tired, we're ready.
I think it's going to be great. I think the African Americans are stoked up, and of course with Raphael running, you know, he's their guy.
I think turnout is going to be amazing. We've already seen that it's been higher than in the last election, in the general election, plus the kids that are turning 18. So that's going to be huge. So I have a lot of confidence that the majority of the people in Georgia want this change.
I think that there's so many different ways that you can vote. I think that people are motivated, and it's like people aren't even really that worried about COVID because you can mail in, and there's just so many different ways that you can actually go about voting. I think that there's plenty of options for everybody.
Back to you, Rich.
All right, Andrew, I'll give you either or. More important for Democrats that Biden, Obama, Harris really ramp up to get out the vote? Or is it more likely that Trump will suppress the vote, especially given what Republicans did on the Hill today? What helps Democrats' chances more? Trump suppressing Republicans or Democratic leaders driving them to the polls?
I don't think you can count on Trump suppressing Republican votes. It would be nice in theory for the Democrats if that were to happen, but I'm not entirely sure that that will, and we don't know what iteration of Donald Trump or how many times, you know, he'll change his coat between now and January 5th. So it's hard to say. But bringing in the heavyweights and making this a national election, I think, is good for the Democrats. Biden sort of hit on something today. He made it personal. He said, I need these 2 senators to get something done. And I think the memory of the long general election is still fresh in everybody's mind. Easier to do that and appeal to that as the final piece for the November election, if you will, than to try to sort of craft a new message from scratch. And focus solely on Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. You know, I'm going to look at the next few weeks in Georgia as a referendum if Democrats can message what to me is an easy sell. I don't care if you're in a red or a blue state, whether you're watching me from the East or the West Coast or in Texas or wherever else. Everybody's hurting economically because of COVID, okay? Other than maybe some hedge fund guys. To that end, Andrew, it is politically maniacal to withhold funding
from constituents that I think, if articulated, can understand whose shirts and whose skins here, who wants to help me and who doesn't. And when I say help, it's not just, basically an unemployment package, if you will, here, but state aid. If they don't get the aid, your firefighter, your cop, your emergency frontline worker, they're going to get fired. Yeah. Your schools are going to have double the kids in the classrooms that they did before. It's crazy not to give state aid, but that's what McConnell right now is unwilling to make part of the package. I know we risk sometimes, that's too complicated inside baseball. But if Democrats can articulate that, they'll give Georgia voters a choice. I don't know that they've done that yet. But, if they can do that before Election Day 3 weeks from today, I think that will matter. And that's why I think it's important that it's the Bidens, the Harrises, the Obamas who make those points as they're coming into Georgia. Keep in mind, Georgia Republicans are hearing an entirely different message. They're hearing that it's Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats that are blocking relief going out to individual states or stopping people from getting a $1,200 check on Fox and Breitbart and OANN and all the other outlets. That's why when a Biden or a Harris or an Obama comes to town and is able to sort of break through the bubble, because that stuff has to get covered, that can be particularly effective. I also thought it was effective today, the argument that Loeffler and Perdue were the ones who were challenging your vote. A poll I saw, 57% of people in Georgia think that the Georgia election was conducted fairly. Not as high a number as it should be, but that's still more people who would say, yeah, they're trying to overturn the election, overturn your vote. Do you imagine we're sitting here at under 60%, even though the Republican Secretary of State, the Republican Lieutenant Governor, and everyone else agreed, yeah, it's a fair election. 32% think it's unfair. We're counting a minor victory. It's Trump's base number. We've seen that number all through his presidency. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. All right, when we come back, doctors and nurses already getting the Pfizer vaccine across our country, and now Moderna, they're nearly ready for the market as well. But the question is, will enough people, we just talked about skepticism already, will enough Americans, including frontline workers, be willing to take the shot? An ER doctor, he'll join us after the break to discuss why it's so important.